And then he says, well, take off all your clothes and get in the back seat. My name is Randi Olson, and I had worked at Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's. I was working a PM shift, and I worked on a busy medical floor. The night I was attacked was Jimmy Carter's election night, and I had worked 3 to 11, and I was going to go out with a previous date, intern, but he got stuck at the hospital, so I decided to go to the Greeks, which is a restaurant between Cook County Hospital and Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's, where a lot of medical people unwind and decompress after shifts. And then I ended up walking alone because I ended up talking to somebody at the bar just while the group left. And there is safety in numbers. That's a big no-no to go out alone on the streets. But at 1:45 in the morning, I didn't expect anybody to be out in 39-degree weather. I walked back to the hospital to get the security van to take me to the free lot. I waited and waited, and they were trying to radio the van, and it never came. So I said, oh, I'll just walk, because I had a 9 a.m. dental appointment, which I ended up missing anyway. So I walked past an old abandoned warehouse building that takes up a block. Then I headed into my car, and all of a sudden, from nowhere, this guy ran up to me, and I thought, I'm dead, and he pulled out this knife that was like 6 inches long. I ended up getting in the car, and I put the key in the ignition, and then he had the knife right by my neck. And I thought, I'm in no shape to run 2 blocks back to the hospital. So I tried to comply with what he was wanting. He was about my age. I was 23, and he seemed kind of nervous. He didn't seem real aggressive, which I was grateful for. But he wanted my money, which I only had a couple bucks on me, my cheap earrings, my Timex watch, which he took. And then he says, well, take off all your clothes and get in the back seat. He changed his mind. He said, no, just take off from the waist down. And I was going to scratch his face, and he said, don't do that. And so I said, do you know Jesus Christ? He goes, I'll show you Jesus Christ. And I thought, I'm dead. But as soon as I said that, I felt this peace that passes understanding. It went from my head. It was like melting honey coming down my head and my body. And I felt very calm. And my thought was then, if I die today, I'll be in heaven. If I live, God has other plans for me, which he does. He did. But, and then when he was done, I was crying, and I'm crying, and I said, just let me go home. I just want to go home. I won't tell anybody. And he goes, I don't trust you. I'm going to lock you in the trunk of your car. And I said, don't you have any human decency? I'll suffocate. He goes, no, you'll be okay. But when we get out of the car, shut your mouth and don't open your mouth. And okay. Well, we got out of the car, and there was a car going by on the road, and it was pretty far away, but I screamed bloody murder, but they didn't stop, of course. And he didn't do anything to me either. And I don't even remember how we got the trunk open. But when I got put in the trunk, as soon as I felt, he closed the lid on me, as soon as I felt air go through, I knew I was going to live, because I could get air. And then he left. And I thought, well, how am I going to figure out what time it is? And I thought, well, the L comes by about every 23 minutes. Well, I lost track. And then I thought, well, to keep up my spirits, I would sing. Well, then I thought, well, then I wouldn't be able to maybe yell for help. So scratch that idea. I was thinking in the trunk. I had to go to the bathroom twice, and so that was hot, and then it was freezing cold. And I thought, well, I'm going to get frostbite. You never know what you're going to think or do, right? I'm going to get frostbite. And so I was only 125 pounds, and I rubbed my feet every few hours and moved around as much as I could. But finally, somebody parked real close, and I wedged up the trunk lid and I screamed like really like bloody murder. And she said, "Where are you?" And I thought I would freak out if I heard a voice coming from a trunk. And I said, "I'm in this maroon Buick Apollo." And she goes, "Well, who are you and where do you work?" And I said, "I'm Olson, 10 East Pavilion." And she says, "Wait right there, I'll get help." And I started laughing and I started crying because I was so happy that somebody heard me and knew I was there. And I was so relieved, and I laughed because I had been waiting all night, you know. And anyways, so when the firemen came, they tried to go through my back seat, but there was a solid steel, you know, wedge there. They couldn't get through. And then they used a crowbar to open up the trunk. And when the trunk opened, I said, "I have nothing on from the waist down." And I mean, I just, these clothes thrown over me. So one of the firemen took off his jacket and put it in there so I could put it on. And and they took me to the emergency room. And then I had a rape victim advocate, a young female intern, and she brought me some food to eat, something to drink. Then my uncle picked me up and I went to a police station, tried to look at mug shots, but I couldn't recognize the guy. And then he put me on a plane to go up to stay with my dad in Wisconsin so I could get away. It's hard enough working as a nurse for 10, 12 hours, and then you're dead tired, you know, when you're going back to your car. And nursing is a very difficult job, emotionally, physically, you know, mentally. And in order to keep good, experienced, responsible nurses or healthcare workers of any sort, they really need to do more for security and safety.